We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Ave Maria Stella Dei Mater Alma Atque semper Virgo Felix Teli Porta.
Welcome, everybody. Steve with Sensus, Fidelium, coming at you with the, I guess you call it book review, more like a Bible book review, or one of the books in the Bible book review. With us today is Samuel Klumpenhoewer. Did I say that right? I probably should have asked you that before I had let go.
Klumpenhoewer, yes. A shoemaker in Dutch.
Good enough for government work right here. He came out with this great little book. This could be a weapon. You get around here. Very beautiful. This is just on Genesis, translated and annotated by Samuel himself. And you can see some of the writings in here on here. It's fantastic. Anyway, forget about it. Let's talk about the book. Samuel, welcome. How you doing? Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, the book is...
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
What were you saying? I'm sorry?
Well, I was just going to say that this is the medieval commentary, the Glossa Ordinaria, the standard.
I was going to ask people. I was going to ask you to tell people about yourself, but we can skip. We can Samuel and go right into the word. But no, first, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How'd you come about this? What is this? And you're a medieval historian. So did you just wake up one day and just say, you know what? I like the medieval times.
Basically, yes. I'm a Canadian by birth. I grew up on a small farm in Canada, and raised as a Protestant, became a Catholic in my 20s at the University of Toronto. And it was there's a Center for Medieval Studies at the University of Toronto, different but connected to the Pontifical Institute of Medieval Studies, also in Toronto. And so there's many great scholars working there, and I had met a number of these medieval historians during my undergrad years, and they instilled in me a love for the Middle Ages. And so I pursued it at the graduate level and took a master's and a PhD in medieval studies from the University of Toronto. And that's what provided me the background necessary to do this project. Now, since I've graduated in 2018, I now live in Sugar Land, which is right outside Houston, Texas. And so I'm an independent scholar. I work as a school teacher down here and continue my scholarship in the evenings and the weekends and every free minute I can find. So, and I'm married down here and have one daughter.
All right. That sounds good. You're welcome. That you sent a great. How we came about it. Samuel sent a letter. This is how you get things done. He didn't sit around and wait for someone else to do it. He got act locally, think locally. He got on it, typed up a nice letter, gave me the links, told me a little bit about himself, and sent me the book. I remember I had this little thing at the post office. Going, I don't remember anybody sending. Nobody sends me anything in the last couple months. I think they think I'm dead or something. And I get this huge box or mail bag. What is this? Open it up and go, holy cow! Now I'm assuming. First off, are you doing more than Genesis? And if so, great googly moogly, because this would take up half a wall.
Yes, if I do the whole project, it will take that, and it'll take a lifetime to get there. But yes, I am doing more than Genesis. I'm working right now. So the Glossa Ordinaria covers the whole Bible. So this volume is just on Genesis, and I'm working right now also on the section on Matthew with another person working jointly on that project. And then from then I'll probably return to the Old Testament, and Exodus is already about half done. So I'm going to continue working my way, and we'll see how it goes. We're testing it, the publisher and I, to see how feasible it is financially to do the whole thing, and so we'll see how it goes. But it's a great project, and I look forward to getting into it with you.
All right, for idiots like me, because I'm like, what is the Glossa Ordinaria? What is the GO? What is? I mean, I've heard of many commentaries. I have a bunch on the website from, I mean, just name it. There's a comment. I never heard of this one. So you had to translate. I'm assuming it's from the Latin, maybe. But what is it a compilation? Is it
That's right. So it is a compilation.
Commentaries?
So it's a compilation compiled in the Middle Ages. So it's a number of medieval people. We're not actually sure exactly who did this compilation. It's anonymous, but it's a compilation done in the Middle Ages, but of the patristic fathers. So it's excerpts taken from Augustine, especially Jerome, Origen, not so much on Genesis, but in other books of the Bible, on Origen, Bede, Gregory the Great, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a compilation of patristic authors, but compiled in the Middle Ages. C.S. Lewis actually talks about this, the medieval, what would you say, genius for compiling and arranging and sorting. They loved things to be in their place, people in the Middle Ages, and this sort of expresses in a visual form their love of arrangement. And you can think about this both in terms of commentaries like this, the Glossa Ordinaria, but it's in everything the medievals did, Gothic architecture, etc. For your readers who might want a connection to this sort of thing, if they've ever come across Thomas Aquinas, the Catena Aurea, the Golden Chain by Thomas Aquinas, that's a similar type of thing. It's a bit later, and in fact, the gloss was one of his main sources. That just covers the 4 Gospels, not the whole Bible. But if you've ever seen Thomas Aquinas's Catena Aurea, this is a similar type of work.
Yeah, I'll try to get a photo of how it's operating on the screen. You see the readings in the middle of the page, and the commentary goes around it. I thought it was pretty neat. At first, my slow mind was thinking, what's going on here? And then, all right, okay, it's surrounding it. That was a cool little setup. I guess that's just like the original. That's
right. So this, unlike Thomas Aquinas's Catena Aurea, which was from the start primarily a reference tool that you would go and read, the Glossa Ordinaria, it was designed firstly as an aid for people teaching the Bible in the early universities and in some of the cathedral schools right before the university. So we're talking here about 11th, 12th, 13th century, and especially the schools are in Paris. So a number of these theologians who were teaching the Bible in that region of France, if you've ever come across a teacher, if whatever book they're teaching, a novel or something, the teacher will have his own copy, and the teacher will make some notes in the margins to kind of jog the memory as they're reading through the text with the students. And so too in the Middle Ages. This was originally, you had the Bible, and then in the margins and in between the lines, you would make these little notes for the teacher to remember to deal with certain issues as they worked through the biblical text. Now, over time, it became more of a reference tool, a Bible commentary, as we might think of it nowadays. But originally, it had that format because it was, as a classroom tool. And so, what's going on when you see the text? Yes, indeed, you in this edition you'll have the biblical text. So this is in red here, and I use the Douay-Rheims translation. It's all the Vulgate. It's all Latin, the original. And so in red you have that biblical text in the center, and then surrounding you have these longer notes from Augustine or Bede or other church fathers. Sometimes we know who it is, sometimes we don't. And then also between the lines you'll have little notes as well. I know y'all can't see it too well, but you can see some examples on my website that you pulled up a minute ago too. And those will be just very quick little notes to jog the kind of memory. Yeah, that's right. So you have these marginal glosses surrounding the red biblical text, and then these interlinear glosses in between the lines. And that's where the title comes from. A gloss, which means literally means tongue. Nowadays, we think of it as sort of a short little note, to gloss something, to make a note on it. There are a couple other meanings too, but that's where the title comes from. It was originally just a descriptive, hey, here's a bunch of notes on the Bible, but over time, these particular notes became authoritative and standard, and that's what the word ordinaria means. So this is the standard, the ordinary set of notes that people consulted when studying the Bible in the Middle Ages. I did a search through Thomas Aquinas's corpus once, and I came up with nearly 4,000 citations to the gloss. He doesn't call it the Glossa Ordinaria, he just calls it the gloss. But people like Thomas Aquinas are referencing this Bible commentary constantly.
I do remember seeing Gloss, reading some commentaries, going, "Nah, I haven't a clue what he was talking about." So that's awesome to know that this is the gloss, even though back then this was probably glossed over. But for us today, this is probably be a heavy read. I mean,
that's right. And you know, nowadays there's a preference to sort of read, say, a commentary by Augustine on Genesis, to read it in its fullness. That's the kind of sense here. But obviously that wasn't possible for everyone in the Middle Ages, because it was expensive to own books, and you often didn't have access to them. And so this was a way to get all the essential points on Genesis at your fingertips. But it's not just that. The benefit now is that this is also the medieval genius. They've sorted through the corpus of Augustine or Jerome and done all the hard work for you. So if you're looking for Augustine's comments on the 6 days of creation or something like that, they've gone through his works and excerpted what they've taken to be most important to know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. I was literally going to bring that up, but actually there was the part of here of Augustine. It is asked whether God created man at an adult age, or did man pass through and grow through the passage of years, just as God now forms a man in his mother wombs. There's questions in here that bead with creation. Yeah, at least for the evolutionists that are watching, which I doubt there's many, you're not going to hear about monkeys, the man from the fathers of this.
You won't hear about the monkeys. The one thing you will hear about is between Augustine and Bede or other people is whether it was instantaneous creation or over 6 days. And keep in mind here too, again, as I was saying, that this was originally a book to be used in the schools, not a reference book. So it's not the Glossa Ordinaria, unlike a medieval Bible commentary that's going to give you whatever the compiler's views on the matter. They're not just going to give you answers straight up. Sometimes they'll do that in the Glossa Ordinaria, but often what they're doing is, as a school text, they're going to give you, debated questions in scholastic parlance, questiones disputate. They'll give you these disputed questions, and this is an opportunity for the students to debate the matter, or for the teacher to talk about both sides, and also an occasion for them to return to the church fathers and see if there's more there that can help them wade through these disputed questions. So sometimes you will have these disputed questions. Other times they will give you a certain answer to certain issues. But again, this was first and foremost a school text rather than a reference work.
What was something during your translation that you just went, wow, this is, wow, this is really cool. Hey, you got to read this. Was there a part during that translation that you did?
Oh, yes, many. So again, this was also written by people who loved the faith and had deep prayer lives and engaged in a lot of mental prayer. And what I mean by that in this circumstance is that they had really thought through episodes in the Bible and what it would have been like to be present. And so they're asking questions that are kind of beyond the text. So an example here is there's this moment in Genesis when Isaac is about to meet his bride, Rebecca. She's coming. The servant had been sent to find Isaac a wife, and he had found her, and she's coming to Isaac, and she's riding the camel. And as she's approaching the location where Isaac is, Isaac, on his own initiative, is heading out, not to meet her. It says he's heading out into the field, and it's evening time. And that's where the text sort of leaves it. But of course, the question here is, what was Isaac doing? He wasn't going out to meet her. It's clear from the text that's not why he had gone out into the field. And so the question is, what was Isaac doing? And it's thought that Isaac was going out to contemplate. He's an adult now, as an adult man, but he was going out in the field to contemplate what had happened to him as a young boy when his father was to sacrifice him. And so this is a moment, that sacrifice, near sacrifice of Isaac, is that's an episode that he's been contemplating his whole life. And these are the kind of questions that, when you put yourself into the story like they did, these are the kinds of questions you start to ask, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that is solid. I never thought. Yeah, contemplate back. Hey, what did Dad try to do to me back then? Oh, hey, look at her. Yeah, that's pretty. It was another one that you found.
Another one. Let me think here. Well, I mean, first of all, I should say they're reading everything. Your readers might be familiar somewhat with the four senses of Scripture, and so they're reading everything in the Old Testament with a view to what happens in the New Testament. So, as Augustine says, what is hidden in the Old is revealed in the New, and so there are all kinds of mysteries about Christ hidden in the Old Testament that are made evident through the saving work of Christ. And so they're always reading, whether it's the story of Noah or Abraham or Isaac, etc. They're always reading that with a work to the saving work of Christ. And so some of your readers might be familiar with this, in terms of Noah and the ark being a symbol, a figure of baptism in the New Testament, and the ark being the church. But that goes to every level. At every level they're reading things, even when it's not necessarily quite as obvious as that. And so that's beautiful. And often you'll get sometimes they'll bring in, especially through the work of Jerome. Jerome was not just the translator of the Bible, of what we call the Vulgate, but he was also an expert of Hebrew at the time, and very familiar with all these Hebrew traditions that are also kind of extra biblical. And so he'll often bring in various traditions that the Jews of his time were still talking about. And so, for instance, there's a question that both Jews and Christians had, namely, who is Melchizedek? He's this figure that just appears out of nowhere in the Bible. And of course, he's discussed in the New Testament as well. And Jerome doesn't say for sure, but he likes to at least relate some of these Hebrew tales. And there was a Hebrew tradition that Melchizedek was actually Shem, the son of Noah. If you read the Bible, it's clear that there was a priesthood before Levi, because Noah, of course, offers sacrifice, Cain and Abel, et cetera, et cetera. So there is some kind of priesthood before then, and it's thought that this priesthood was handed down typically through the firstborn son, and that Shem held this priesthood through the Noahic line. Now, Jerome doesn't say that's for sure the case, but he at least likes to give you exposure to those kind of Hebrew traditions. Another one I will say is that there's this beautiful moment in the case of Jacob and Esau when it comes time for the supper, and not of pottage, but later on when Esau goes out to the field to hunt for his father, and Jacob remains under the prompting of his mother, Rebecca. Now, it had been revealed to Rebecca when she was pregnant with the twins, if you recall, that they were wrestling in the womb and causing her great consternation, and she had gone out to ask God what's going on, and it was revealed to her while they were still in the womb that the younger shall rule over the elder. And so she knows that it is Jacob's right by divine providence to inherit the blessing, that normally would go to the elder, but by divine providence this was destined for Jacob. And so she is correct in helping Jacob get that blessing from Isaac. And there's this moment here where she clothes Jacob with some of the garments of Esau, and he smells like Esau when he goes to Isaac. And here was another Hebrew tradition, quite beautiful, that those garments, they were not just ordinary clothes, that those were actually priestly garments that had been passed down from the eldest son onwards, and dated all the way back to Adam, namely when Adam, after his expulsion from the garment, that God gave them garments of skin. And then the tradition here is that these were priestly garments passed down through that pre-Levitical priesthood. And so when Jacob receives these garments, he's not just receiving any normal clothes, he's receiving that priestly authority that by divine providence would go to him rather than to Esau. Right. So there's wonderful stuff like that all through the text.
I was going to say, I was just looking, going the opening part where it says Augustine, just as Paul learned the gospel through revelation, so Moses learned from the Holy Spirit about the beginning of the created world. I'm going, at that time, before you start speaking, I was going, wow, that was really cool. Then you said that. I'm going, this is going to be anticlimactic after what you just said.
Yeah, but man, it's just wonderful. The whole thing is just filled with that. And again, this was patristic commentary compiled by the medievals. It was compiled and written by people who had a deep love for the church and who were writing. They were writing as theologians, you could say, but they were writing as pastors. They were writing as with a great care to what would be profitable for people to know for their soul, not just in an academic sense.
Obviously, the content is far and beyond other commentaries, but just the look, the aesthetics itself, the beauty on each page. I don't think there's a commentary out there that looks that good.
They did a wonderful job. So this is published through Emmaus Academic, which is the press head of Steubenville, and yeah, they did a wonderful job with the design and yeah, I can't praise them enough for all the work they put into this.
It goes. Does it have the pages? 304 pages on Genesis. So
that's right.
You're getting you might see somebody might just had a heart attack from Sanford and Son. Oh, the big one's coming. You're getting your money's worth out of this.
That's right. And there's a number. If anything kind of strikes your fancy, I've annotated it. So I've in other words I've sometimes put explanatory notes. These are on the back, but I've also, as much as possible, tracked down where the excerpt came from. So if you're interested in a particular line of exegesis, you can go find the note, and that'll tell you what book from Augustine or Jerome or Bede that it came from, and you can do further reading on it that way. I mean, again, this was built for the classroom, so they're not going to be exhaustive on any particular topic, but it'll be enough to strike an interest in anything.
Tell everybody where they could find out more. You're doing another book, or you already have it in the works right now?
I got a couple more in the works. One is the one on Matthew. That'll probably be the next volume. It's probably going to be a while. It'll probably be a year before that's available, but we'll do the one on Matthew, and then I'll continue with Exodus. I have a couple other projects on the side that I'm also working on. One was a edition and translation of a manual for confessors from the Middle Ages. This is something I worked on back when in my graduate studies, and that one's nearly ready for publication. It's not available yet, but that's coming out. But again, I take it as a calling from God that I know about these wonderful texts from the Middle Ages, and it's surprising how many of the most important texts from the Middle Ages are not even available yet or even known about, like the Glossa Ordinaria. But God, through his grace, introduced me to these books, and I'm trying to make them available to y'all as much as I'm able.
Come on, faster. This should be easy for you. Come on, just start cranking them out now.
That's right.
Why you waste your time on me? So if anybody wants to contact him, just go to the website, hit the contact button.
That's right.
Anyways,
yeah, here's my email there. You can reach out to me anytime. Yeah, I enjoy meeting new people. So yeah, that's my beautiful wife and daughter in the picture there that you see.
And he links to the website. He links to St. Paul Center website to get the buy the Glossia. So yeah, check it out. It'll be underneath in the show notes, always, of course. And I'm sure we will have him back on again to do more, on another book on the Bible or the Summa or whatever you can come up with, or just write me and say, hey, let's do a show on this. I will be for that. So Samuel, thank you for your time. Again, everything will be underneath the show notes. Any final words you got?
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. And keep an eye on Emmaus Academic. They're doing a lot of great work right now, not just this series, but a series on Matthias Shaban. And they also have working with another organization to publish for the first time all of Aquinas in facing English Latin translations. So they're working on that. You can find that on the website. And then they just started up a similar series to do the same for all of Augustine. And it might surprise your readers, but even Aquinas and Augustine have not been completely translated into English. There's so many great works from the Middle Ages that are just waiting to be brought to y'all. Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. I remember the old joke is if someone said they read all of Augustine, they're lying to you.
Yeah, that's right. I won't say it.
Sam, appreciate your time, man.
All right. Good to see you.